Well, welcome to another post-game live chat. Texas Tech dropped its second straight 27-14, this time to BYU in Provo, Utah. Earlier tonight, it was a very frustrating game, but I believe in the old motto of keep showing up. So here I am, win or lose. I'm going to go over the games with y'all. I am going to tell you this: I'm not going 50 minutes tonight on this game and what we saw tonight, but I will answer your questions if you got them. And while I'm waiting, I thought I'd go over some stats. Texas Tech gained 389 total yards, including 153 on the ground, 236 through the air. The defense held BYU to just 277 total yards, which is pretty impressive. Excuse me. But I think the stat that stands out, there's a couple of them, but the main one for me is 5 turnovers for Texas Tech, 0 for BYU. I mean, you're -5 in the turnover department. You're not going to win a lot of games that way, needless to say. But also, 9 penalties for 80 yards against Texas Tech. I believe they had that in the third quarter. More frustration. It's a big loss for Texas Tech in terms of their hopes of becoming bowl eligible. The season was already – it was determined before they played tonight that this was going to be, a disappointing season. But the fact that this team that we were talking about, and I myself owning up to it, I think my preseason prediction was 9 regular season wins, which right now looks like will they get to half of that, or even just a little less than half of that. And then the fact that we were talking about them as a dark horse Big 12 championship game team, and then now they likely won't even make a bowl game is crazy to me. I mean, that is really I've been covering sports a long time. Everything from high school softball in the Rio Grande Valley to NFL, NBA, all that, Olympic sports, all that stuff. I've been blessed to cover a lot of things, and I have never covered a team this extensively and been so wrong about it. But I was, I'm owning up to it. I can't believe we're sitting here talking about Texas Tech being 3-5 overall. But that's where we find ourselves. All right. Starting to get some questions in or some comments anyways. Reckham says, well, 3-5, brother, laugh out loud. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I can't believe it's surreal. It just continue to go through this, but at this point it's really setting in that this is just not a good team. I mean, I maybe some people out there got to that conclusion a lot sooner than I did, but watching it tonight, I mean, having problems just with snapping the football, handing the ball off, all the turnovers. I mean, what is that? 8 turnovers in the last 6 quarters, in the last 3 halves. I mean, 6 interceptions in the last 6 quarters. I mean, come on, that's bad. True freshman, not true freshman. Senior running back, a lot of seniors on the offensive line. It's Power 5 Division I football, and it's really sloppy right now. All the penalties, all the turnovers. It's bad football, period. Morton health update. When will he be back? The hope is that he'll be back, for the TCU game. That's November 2nd. That's a Thursday night game. I don't know that he's going to be back, but I know that is the hope. That's what they're aiming toward. Jared Johnson, Jared. Oh, Jared. Geez whiz. Geez whiz. What did we just watch? We watched some really bad football, and even BYU. I mean, look, hats off to them. They did what they had to. They're 5-2 overall, 2-2 in the Big 12. I mean, Tech would die for that record right now. But that was not a really good football team we saw Tech lose to. Again, they made the plays they needed to, so good for them. But and they deserved it. They played better than Tech. They played certainly a cleaner game than Texas Tech did. I mean, no turnovers and much less penalties. And I know there's going to be people out there saying that they should have been called for penalties and it's conspiracy, but I have no interest in debating that. That's what was called. I feel like most of the penalties called on Tech were legit penalties. You're playing in Provo. That's part of it. That's part of the home field advantage. Ugly football from Texas Tech. All right. I'm not sure who this is. He said, but our season is over. Pack it up. Yeah. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I mean, even if Tech wins 3 of the last 4 games, somehow you have TCU at home, which, I mean, the way this Tech team is playing right now, that looks like a loss. You got Kansas there, you got UCF at home, and then you have at Texas. I mean, I have a hard time believing. Now, crazy things have happened. Maybe they can, but I have a very difficult time believing that team is going to win 3 or 4 against that schedule. Even if they do, still, so what? They get to the whatever, what was that? I think my boy Pete Christie on the Rock and Pregame was calling it the Depends Bowl or something like that. I don't know, the Diaper Bowl, whatever. I've heard some people on Inside the Red Raiders say it would be like the Toilet Bowl or something like that. That's all apt. And so even if you did somehow get to bowl eligibility, it was still a bad season. But I don't think they're going to accomplish even that. He said, you hit it right on. As of right now, I just don't see them making a bowl. Yep. Cowboys season said, Joey talked all that trash and hyped up everybody and laid a big fat egg and let everybody down. Something needs to change. Somebody needs to do something ASAP. Yeah, I mean, I wrote a column earlier this week of trying to explain the disappointment, just like I said, the surreal feeling of where we're at, where in terms of all of us who follow Texas Tech football on a weekly or some of us like me on a daily basis, where you spend a lot of your day thinking and talking about Texas Tech football. But there is a reckoning. Like, I don't have a problem with Joey McGuire's approach in the offseason, but if you don't back it up and then, in fact, you fall this far short of all those expectations, I got to be honest, like, my girl, like this, I keep thinking about this. My girlfriend went to Wyoming, and all season or all off season, we were talking about, Tech's going to crush Wyoming, and then they even went up 17-0 and all that. And there was a lot of smack talk, or a lot of overconfidence, clearly, from Texas Tech, from people like me talking about how Texas Tech was going to destroy Wyoming, and then Wyoming, hit them in the mouth, and they came back and won that game. And I feel like, in terms of that feeling of kind of bragging about, this is going to be a great season, but then not living up to those expectations, have just continued throughout the season from that season opener. Now, that's a way oversimplification of the many problems they have, but I keep thinking about that, that all that talk, all that bragging, all that, and including by me, like, I'm owning up to it. All I was, hyping up Texas Tech. I went to a lot of those practices. I've been doing this a long time. I still feel like the potential was there, though, man, they are far from showing that right now. And I really felt that in seeing them. I really believe that. And if you go back and look at my history and predictions, like, I've been right, like almost exactly right for like 8 years or something crazy like that until this year. Boy, sure made up for it, because I was so wrong about this team. But going back to your original point, if you talk all that noise like McGuire did, which I don't have a problem with if you back it up, but if you don't and you fall that short, I mean, people are going to be angry, and people are going to laugh at you, and people are going to mock you, all that stuff, which McGuire said he doesn't care about that. And that's a good thing, because, I mean, it's not a good look, which I think is what you were alluding to. I love this. Decimus Maximus Decimus Meridius, Maximus from Gladiator. I love that. I love it when he says his whole name too, when he's telling whatchamacallit, the Emperor. Anyways, I'm getting off. When he tells Joaquin Phoenix, like, General of the North. Okay, I'm getting off way too off tangent, but I love that movie. But he says, here's to hoping for 6 wins again. Yeah, that's where we're at, and I really don't think they're going to get to 6 wins. So, I mean, this is a big step back, and we see that in all sports where guys or coaches have an initial pretty good first season, and then their second season take a big step back, and sometimes they take a big step forward after that. So we'll have to see. But in the moment, in the season, this is a big step back. D. Wayne says, I've been a diehard Red Raider for 12 years now. It's been so hard. I'm just getting tired. Yeah, I mean, there's some people like on Inside the Red Raiders who talk about, and they've been a Tech fan for like 50 years. And I mean, they're very tired, but they're almost like battle weary. They're just used to it. And they're like, just calm down. This is what it is. This is how it is. I think they're hoping to be surprised in their twilight years or something like that, but not expecting it. And I think being a Texas Tech fan is being an underdog. Like that's part of the whole thing at Texas Tech. Like people talk smack about Lubbock, people talk smack about Texas Tech as a university, people talk smack about Texas Tech football, and that's fine. If you went to Tech and Tech, I mean, for the most part, you're going to love it. You get it. You get the thing about the people in West Texas, the culture out here, the rebel status, all that kind of stuff. That's the appeal, of being like a unapologetically, yeah, we are who we are, but it's also not good football, unfortunately. And then that's just, you have a year here, a year there, but it's not, you're definitely underdog role status as a Red Raider. So see here, this is exactly kind of dealing what I was talking about. Kim Coulter said, for the first time in my 65 years, I quit watching. I'm embarrassed and I'm pissed off. Joey has hung his hat on Kitley, and if Kitley's not gone at the end of the season, he too will be done. I think that's an exaggeration. I also think it's probably – I didn't think Kitley called just a terrible game. It wasn't great. Now, he's responsible for the offense, and the offense didn't execute. But in terms of like his play calling tonight, I didn't have a big problem with it. I mean, especially not compared to Kansas State. Taj got his touches. He got over 30, and I think that helped some. But then they had, just the turnover. I mean, you can't turn the ball over like that. I mean, I wish I could sit here and have this great big analysis for you and break it down, but you can't turn the ball over 5 times and expect to win, especially on the road, but really anywhere at any level of football. So, and I don't think there's a correlation like if McGuire doesn't fire Kitley, then he's going to be fired. Like I think this all that talk is premature. This is right now. We like if you care about Texas Tech football, if you're a fan or you cover whatever, you just got to eat it. We just got to take it. It's very unpleasant, but we just got to eat it right now and call it like it is. I think it's important to be honest about what it is, not try and make excuses about penalties or injuries or whatever. I mean, every team has so many like really rough injuries right now. Almost so many teams are down their second quarterback or their third linebacker. Almost everybody's starting somebody they didn't plan on playing. Especially not at this point of the season. That's football, So I don't want to hear those excuses. I'm not big on excuses anyways. This is just a bad football team, and we got to be honest about it. Andy Oaks says, does any coach deserve to stay at the end of the season? Yeah, I think they deserve to stay. I mean, deserve. I mean, first off, we don't how do you want to define that? I mean, just by wins and losses? I mean, that's fair. Massive disappointment, massive failure this year. But that doesn't mean – I mean, they were a year removed from achieving some notable feats. I mean, most wins in the regular season since, 2015 or 2016? Most wins overall in a season since 2013. First time you beat OU and UT, in the same season. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't want to hear this right now, but again, in being honest about where the program is right now, you have to factor that in. I mean, that is part of this coaching staff's track record. So is 3-5 terrible football this year. So do I think there should be massive firings or that Kitley should be fired for sure? No, I'm not sure about that. I think there's got to be some real serious talks. I mean, some guys, some people, some decision makers and the coaches are going to have to get knee to knee and be like, look, this is unacceptable. Something's got to change in terms of how you're doing this, how you're going about your business, and what is your plan? What is your plan? What are you going to do to fix this? Because right now it just seems like an avalanche, like they're not going to be able to fix it during the season, but it's going to be a long off season, probably with no bowl practices and all that. They're going to have time to figure out what that plan is. Bradley Fernandez. Is that Bradley Fernandez? Let me see here. Nope, that's all right. Man, y'all posted a lot of questions in a short time. Yeah, Bradley Fernandez. Hey, Jared, I hope you're doing well. I hope you are too, Bradley. Bradley used to be on staff inside the Red Raiders. Great dude. Great kid out, man. I hope things are going well for you. He said he stopped watching the second half. Don't think I've done that since the 2020 season. This is quite disappointing. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I am obligated to watch the entire game. But if it wasn't my job, I would have turned it off too because it was terrible football from both teams, to be honest. BYU was less terrible than Texas Tech, and it was so frustrating. It was like, it was like the Clockwork Orange, where his eyelids are held open. He's watching these terrible images. I mean, that's what that was like. I kept thinking about that GIF, and then also the Ben Affleck "Hello Darkness, My Old Friend" meme or whatever YouTube video. Those kind of things were going through my head when I was watching it because I mean the game was boring. The teams were not good, and not only are these teams not good, but they also didn't play well tonight. Lucas the GOAT wants to know, he says, with Tech at 3-5, how do you think the season will end? I think Tech will probably win one more game at this point. Maybe two, but probably just one more. And I don't think they'll go to a bowl. And it'll be, much of the same, to be honest. Parker Brown says, I had my doubts in the spring game by noticing that the wide receivers just don't have speed. Offensive line was always going to be an issue, but what unit disappointed you the most so far? Yeah, I think the receivers, that's high on the list. The receivers and the outside linebackers, I mean, there's been in the game, the second half of Houston and then the whole game against Baylor, they did a really good job of getting pressure on the quarterback. But outside of that, not a lot of pressure this year. They haven't put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. I mean, Tim DeRuyter is known for that. I mean, he's put guys in the NFL, and I've said this before, but even when Tyree went down last year, I mean, Tech didn't skip a beat. They still were a good pass rushing defensive team, and I just really haven't seen that a lot this year. But the receivers have been really bad. I mean, I was expecting more. I mean, Miles Price has had some moments. Xavier White's had some moments. Coy Aiken's done some things kind of come on. Man, he had some bad penalties tonight. And then we'll have to check and see where he is at injury-wise because he went down for a little bit. He walked off on his own power, but we'll have to see. And he's been injury-prone since in his short stint at Texas Tech. But Jerand Bradley, man, he has not lived up to the hype or the potential. I really thought he was going to have a monster season. He had a great end of the last year. He's taken a step back. Dre McCray has not been the guy that we were expecting in terms of adding speed to the offense. Loic Fungi, outside of that one Houston game where he had the block punt and a touchdown catch, has been non-existent. J.J. Sparkman, I mean, he's not even seeing the field. I thought that guy, had a chance. He's a big physical, kind of like a Dez Bryant style. He's certainly no Dez Bryant, but in terms of that kind of style of receiver, big physical dude, and just haven't seen it. I mean, he hasn't seen the field, so that's not good. So I have to go with receiving core as the most disappointing position group so far this year. All right. R said, I feel bad for Brooks. He deserves better. You can see the nonverbal frustration after some of those plays. Yeah. I'm not saying I pretend to know Taj Brooks, but I don't know how many times I've interviewed him just before he even got to Tech. And then since he's been at Tech, heard him talk and interviewed him. Good dude, really solid dude. I mean, I don't know his parents, but I would suspect there's somebody in his life and his upbringing that did right by Taj Brooks. He's a really cool dude and seems to have a really good head on his shoulders. So he's also a human being. He's frustrated. It's a terrible season. It's his senior year. How can he not be frustrated? I expect, he's going to have an NFL career. How great or how long, all that. I mean, there's so many factors, but I do think he's good enough to play football in the NFL to get on a roster, and play for a while and make some life-changing money. Joey, Jin Kitty says, I believe Toby, I think he meant Joey, is still the guy, but something needs to happen. He says, I don't care if the third string was in. We lost to a backup quarterback at West Virginia. He says, we have NFL talent all over this team. This is horrendous. I don't know if they have NFL talent all over the team. I think Jalen Hutchins will get a shot. I don't know. I mean, maybe Malik Dunlap, maybe not though. I don't know. I just mentioned Taj, but I can't say that they have NFL talent all over the team. They do have more potential than what they're showing. There's no doubt. I mean, they are underperforming. Absolutely. And the coaches have to take the blame for that. Just like I gave them the credit for that great, not great, but very good first season. Notable, memorable first season that Joey McGuire is here. This one is memorable for the other reason, for it being terrible and them not living up to the potential. Kim Coulter says finishing last in the Big 12 is not ignored by recruits, and right now all Joey's shows he can do is recruit, but that too will dry up with losing. Let's not overreact. I think we need to again be honest about where they're at. Recruits are people make all these assumptions about recruits, and I think that's a mistake. This is kind of a weird thing to say, but every guy's recruitment is like a snowflake. They're all unique. It's all what they're interested in. There's so many different factors, like factoring why they choose the school they do. And everything I've heard so far, I mean, and they might lose one or two guys, and some of it might be because of the losing, but some of it might just because they get a sweeter deal from somebody else, and guys get flipped. Tech flips guys late, and vice versa. So, I think that's overstated, Kim, to be honest, and it's an overreaction. And if it happens and I'm wrong, then you can say, "Hey, I told you," and that's fine. But like Micah Hudson told Mike Roach, he does a great job for us at 24/7 Sports. He's 100,000,000,000% still with Texas Tech or whatever the exact quote was. And he's still very solid. A lot of those guys are locked in. They're already they've been on the group chat. They're basically brothers. They have friends on the team already that they can't wait to join the team. So I just and they're close with the coaching staff and all of that. They're already locked in. So let's not overreact. Now maybe in the 25 class it could hurt, but with the 24 class, I think what we see is pretty much what they're going to end up getting on campus. Again, there might be one or two, but still, that's not a big deal. Let's not overreact. Ernest Tubb says, as far as you know, did Xavier White do something wrong this year as far as discipline? No, I'd be very surprised. He's the kind of dude who makes good grades, keeps his head down, more of a quiet kind of dude. I'd be very surprised. Crazy things happen, in this world, in this life. So I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but I have not heard one thing about Xavier White in terms of discipline problems. Kim Coulter says, I don't blame you for nothing. We all bought in with you. Yeah, well, I appreciate that, but also being honest, I was very wrong, and I gotta own up to that. I was wrong about this team, very wrong about this team. Gerald Devereaux says, was it Jake Strong or is it Kitley? Kitley hasn't done a good job this year, and I'm not going to – I get why people are so frustrated with him. And Jake Strong's a true freshman. Some of those things, though, here's the thing. Like, players got to do their thing. Jake Strong should know how to take snap, or Rusty Stats should know how to snap the ball. Jake Strong should know how to – he's been running read option plays, like with those fumbled handoffs for a long time. He did that at Justin Northwest High School. And so it's not like this is some new crazy thing for him or anything. But it was his first start. He's young. But ultimately, like, I'm going to give credit to the coaches when Tech does good things and the offense does good things. And I have with Kitley, even this season. But he's the quarterback's coach. None of the quarterbacks have looked good this year. The offense has not looked good this year overall, really at all. Even like that Houston game, the special teams had returned a punt and blocked a punt for touchdowns. So that helped the final score, but the offense wasn't great. Tarleton State, you had a pick six on defense. Malik Dunlap contributed, and all the quarterbacks looked bad this year. For most of the time. Baird Morton's had some good moments. He looked good at Baylor, especially off the success from the defense and then the running game. But who is supposed to be accountable for the offense? It's the offensive coordinator. So when they do well, you got to give them credit. But when they're struggling, you got to call it like it is. So, I mean, Kitley should take a fair amount of the blame. And I would hope that he would own up to it instead of just saying, well, this player should have done that. That player should have done this. I mean, who is their coach? You have to own up to that as well. So that's just my opinion anyways. Tom TT Rex says Jim Carlin was a successful coach at Texas Tech, and that's before my time, by the way, but I've heard the stories and know the record and all that. He says because he minimized turnovers. Teams that turn the ball over too much is on the coaches. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was just talking about. I mean, you credit the players and the coaches when they succeed and they have, and they win. But you also, I mean, you got to call it like it is. I mean, they're messing up. It's on the players and the coaches. It's on the team. Gooberdoo says hiring a high school coach. It's hard to keep the faith. Nah, everybody says, he says he's a high school coach. Joe McGuire doesn't. He kind of mocks that people talking that smack. But I mean, he'd been an assistant coach. He was a Hall of Fame high school coach. I still wholeheartedly believe that Joey McGuire is the right coach at the right time for Texas Tech, but he's not doing well right now, and he deserves criticism. So I have no problem with that. But I know it's fresh that they lost tonight, and the season has been such a major disappointment. But I'm not going to overreact. It's your fandom. You do what you want with it. But it's a chat with me, and so I'm going to give my opinion. I think it's an overreaction just to say, oh, McGuire, the high school coach, what a terrible hire, or something like that. Gerald Devereaux said, is the staff not good at recognizing talent, or is the scheme not matching up with the talent? I mean, I think they're good at recognizing talent, but I got to say they didn't do a good job of knowing their personnel this year. I mean, there was a lot of times I thought the personnel was not utilized in the right way. And then some guys that were like Rusty Stats, Steve Linton, those guys were expected. Dre McCray have big impacts, and they just haven't. Those transfer portal additions, they haven't made positive impacts anyways, So I'd say it's a little bit of both. Fernando Bermuda says, Jarrett, very ugly game, but especially bad loss. Just my opinion, but McGuire's hype misled not only the fan base, but more damaging the players. Their season is over. I'm going to say I kind of agree with you. I mean, ultimately, I've played a sport or even done anything like high pressure, something where you have to perform in a certain way. I mean, ultimately, all the talk is just talk. It's just yada, yada. And I know that's what I do for a living. So, maybe I shouldn't say that, but it's still about the players going out there and making plays or not, and the coaches putting them in the right position. Absolutely. And then here, there, some kind of motivational stuff can help or hurt, maybe a game or two here. But this kind of deviation of from expectations, there's more to it than just what McGuire said hurt them. Normally, it's a number of things that cause this kind of collapse to a season. And, at the end of the year, maybe I'll do a chat where we kind of talk about putting all those puzzle pieces together. It sounds kind of masochistic, but, y'all want to talk about, understand why this is happening, and I'll give, I'll make my best effort in terms of trying to explain what I think happened at the end of the year. But some of this stuff can be overstated, both positively and negatively. Andrea Probst says, do we have just 3 scholarship quarterbacks? It's hard to watch. Yeah, I mean, they do. They only have 3 scholarship quarterbacks. Excuse me. And, what's weird is normally you're like, that's good. You have the long-term veteran. You have another guy who's had some seasoning, has a lot of potential, was, a big-time recruit, obviously in Barron after Tyler Shutt being the veteran, who, oh, by the way, I mean, come on, coming off last year, had started and won those Final Four games, was MVP of the Texas Bowl. So, and there's a lot of reasons for optimism with both those guys. And then you have the young guy learning third string, obviously, in Jake Strong. Under most circumstances, you feel really good about that, but not Texas Tech. I mean, because so many injuries at the quarterback position and it's not just like, oh, Zach Kitley is getting these guys hurt. I mean, he's not keeping them healthy, but it's a continuation of Texas Tech struggling to keep their quarterbacks healthy. I mean, the last quarterback to start the season, in the season opener as the starter and then finish the whole season was Pat Mahomes. I mean, and that was a long time ago. Think about that. Was it 2016, I believe? So it's been years and years since Tech has stayed, healthy at quarterback, or even remotely healthy. And that's the situation right now. Shuck, obviously he's out for the season. Barry Morton is banged up, and hopefully he can play, against TCU. And then you have Jake Strong. So that's the only good thing is you could say is at least he's getting some experience, although, you got to wonder about his confidence at some point. But I like Jake Strong. We had him on the radio show too, and another guy I interviewed a million times in the recruiting process. He's a really sharp guy, doesn't lack for confidence, but man, he's taking his lumps as a true freshman right now. Getting ready to start winding this down. Like I said, I'm not going 50 minutes after this game tonight, but I'm going to try and go a little faster through some of these questions. Gerald DeVros says Joey's feeling the heat, though. Yeah, I mean, you lose like this, you're going to feel some heat, especially, again, after overhyping the team in the offseason. Cowboy season said, this is not the Texas Tech offense I know. We score points here. It is what we are known for, but scoring 14 points against BYU is not enough. I hate to say it, but Kelly has to go. Well, I respect your opinion. I agree with you. This is not the Texas Tech offense we're used to. Joe Gutierrez says, yep, I'm eating crow right now. Yep, me too, and a whole bunch of us, man. Fubar says, I love your name, your handle, by the way. You said the body language of the players was not good on offense. Well, yeah, I mean, how could it not? How could it be? They're struggling. They're struggling mightily. So I'm not surprised. All right, man, there's some good questions. Here's a lot. Joel Himes says the defense looks better. No one can deny that. Yeah, and like I started off with the live stream early. I mean, they gave up less than 300 yards. They're not creating turnovers. That's the only thing. But, I mean, this defense, I mentioned Mahomes. I mean, if Mahomes had this defense, they would have challenged for Big 12 titles. I mean, I really believe that. Mahomes and when DeAndre Washington, LaRaven, that all those guys on offense were here, I mean, they would have been maybe 9, 10 wins. I'm kind of scared to throw out win-loss totals for Texas Tech right now, but or predictions. But I think they would have been a dang good football team if Mahomes and that offensive group had this defense. So I don't think that's the problem. Now, they struggled against Kansas State. They're not perfect, all that stuff. I wouldn't even say this is like a really good defense. It's a defense that you could win games with. They give you a shot. Right now, the offense isn't giving them a shot. Andrea said frustrating. Yeah, it is. Joel Himes says Joey needs a few years, maybe 5 years. Fire him after that time. He said players didn't care. I don't believe that. I believe these players care. Gooberdew says, what kind of questions are you hoping to ask the coach in the upcoming interview? Honestly, only thing right now I have is snaps. I mean, what is there to ask? This is just a bad team. I mean, there's so many things going wrong. And I mean, if you watch those press conferences, I don't shy away from asking uncomfortable questions and stuff like that. But I remember sometimes in the Kingsbury era, I just got kind of like, why even ask a question? I'm just going to show up and see what they say. I'm not even going to say anything. I don't believe in just asking a question just to ask it. But, I mean, what does there say? Bad football team playing bad football right now. Cowboys season said, so I'm guessing Rodriguez isn't coming back this season, Raz. I think he'll play 3 of the last 4 games, and that'll allow him to still be able to redshirt, which he hadn't done yet. So I think that's the expectation. Leroy Gumpa said, should we just check out this year? I mean, that's up to you. I really try not to tell fans how to do their fandom. But I mean, it's not a good team. I understand those who will check out. Andrea wants to know, do I think there will be staff changes next year? Yeah, more than likely, I do believe so. Lucas the Goat says, great live stream. Keep it up. I'm going to keep showing up, man. Thank you for saying that. Gerald Devereaux says, Hudson rep the Aggies gloves. Anything on him? Yeah, like I said, he just said yesterday, and you may ask this before I answered it, but he just said yesterday after the game that he's 100 millionth, whatever, invested, still securely committed to Texas Tech. So, and also, we had Merv Skurlark, a former Red Raider, great DB from the 80s, on the Rockin' pregame last weekend, and he said he overheard me doing a recruiting segment, and I brought up, like, Mike is still, nothing's for sure in recruiting, but he's still very much locked in with Texas Tech, and I expect him to be a Red Raider. And he overheard that segment, and the next segment he came on and said, look, I played with his dad at Texas Tech. I talked to him just today. Don't worry about Micah. He's going to be a Red Raider. So, I mean, that's about – you wanted an update. I'm not saying it's for sure. Nothing's for sure in recruiting or in this life, really. But I do believe Micah will be a Red Raider. Joey said in the press conference they were about to make a change at center. I guess they realized the center is not performing good enough. Well, good. Yeah, he's not. Thomas Gilbreth says, also, we used to say in college, win or lose, we booze. Yep. Cheers, man. You know what? I'm going to wrap it up. Joe Gutierrez said, another great live stream, Jared. Thanks again. Win, lose, or draw. Looking forward to the next one. Have a good rest of your weekend. You too. Yeah, I think that's a great way to wrap it up. We're going to have more content. Mighty Joe on Inside the Red Raiders has his Jaeger shots. I had my post-game little video. We'll have our day after podcast on Sunday as well. And then next week we'll have some content we'll have for you, trying to dissect what's going on. And, I don't think they'll do a press conference on Monday because they don't do it on bye week. So it'll be the next Monday before the TCU game. But, we're not going anywhere. We're going to keep showing up. And, maybe the Red Raiders will be able to bounce back in the final 4 games of the season, final third of the season, and maybe they'll surprise us. But for now, I want to thank you all for watching, and until next time.